You ever feel it? That twitch in the air? Like something's crawling just beneath the surface of normal. Oh, everyone's walking around, scrolling, laughing, sipping coffee like the walls aren't closing in. But they are. Quietly, cleverly. And while they're too busy chasing comfort, you're here wide-eyed sensing it. Good. That means you're still awake. Awareness, now that's a funny little thing, isn't it? Everyone talks about it like it's some yoga class or a meditation retreat. Be present, they say. Live in the moment. But awareness, real awareness, isn't gentle. It doesn't hum or whisper. No, it screams. It rattles the bones. It claws at your thoughts when everyone else is sleeping soundly. It doesn't bring peace, it brings clarity, and clarity, well, that can be terrifying. Most people walk around like wind-up toys, eyes wide open but completely blind. They stare at their screens, nod when they're supposed to, laugh on cue. Programmed. Predictable. But there's always just a few who see the glitch. They notice when the smile doesn't match the eyes, when the pattern doesn't fit, when the room goes quiet but the air gets heavy. Those people, they're cursed or blessed, depending on how you look at it. See, awareness isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing enough. Enough to see what others miss. Enough to feel what isn't being said. It's the cold breath on the back of your neck when nothing's behind you. The way the hairs rise before the trouble even steps into the room. That's not paranoia. No, that's instinct. It's survival. The kind that doesn't ask questions. It just pulls you out of the fire before anyone else smells the smoke. And people will hate you for it. They'll call you dramatic, too intense, always on edge. Of course they will. Because when you notice the storm forming while they're busy building sand castles, you ruin their illusion. They don't want to hear that the tide's rising. They want to believe the sun will shine forever. But the ones who survived the flood, they're the ones who started building boats when the skies were still clear. Now here's where it gets delicious. Awareness doesn't make you safe. No, it makes you dangerous. Because once you see the game for what it is, you stop playing by the rules, you stop pretending. You start preparing, you move different. You watch the exits, you keep your back to the wall and your mind sharp. And the best part, no one knows until it's too late. You ever see a wolf in a room full of sheep? Quiet, calm, calculating. The sheep laugh, they play, they graze in the open. But the wolf watches, waits. Not because it's afraid, because it knows something they don't. Awareness isn't about noise, it's about control. About knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to flip the whole table and set it on fire. And don't think it's all big moments either. No, awareness is built in the tiny ones. The glance that lasts a second too long. The word choice that slips out too quickly. The shift in tone that most would miss, that's where it starts. Like a puzzle where the pieces don't quite fit. And suddenly your gut is screaming even when your brain hasn't caught up. That gut, that's gold. Trust it. But here's the kicker, they want you blind. They flood you with distractions. Bright lights, loud sounds, endless scrolls of nothing. Keep you busy. Keep you tired. Keep you numb. Because a numb mind doesn't ask questions. A numb soul doesn't prepare. And an unprepared soul, that's easy to control. But once you wake up, oh, they've got a problem. Because when you're aware, you can't unsee. You can't go back. You see the cracks in the smile, the tremble in the hand, the lie hiding behind the compliment. You learn to read between lines, between words, between heartbeats. And suddenly you're playing a different game while everyone else is stuck on level 1. You don't need all the answers, you just need to be present enough to ask the right questions. And when it all comes crashing down, because it always does, it won't be the strongest who make it. It'll be the ones who saw it coming. The ones who moved early. The ones who were already ready before the alarm ever sounded. Not because they had a map. Because they trusted the signs. The shift in the wind. The quiet before the storm. Comfort. What a beautiful little trap. Soft, warm, numbing. It wraps around you like a blanket dipped in poison, just enough to make you feel safe while it slowly rots away your edge. People crave it, they chase it like junkies, convinced that once they have enough of it, life will finally make sense. But it doesn't. It never does. Because comfort isn't peace, it's sedation. You see, the world doesn't collapse in fire and screams. No, it collapses in whispers. In routines. In laughter that doesn't reach the eyes. While you're sinking into your recliner, the floor beneath you is cracking. But you don't notice because your phone is charged, your fridge is full, and your life is fine. That word, that cursed, sugary word, fine. It's the anthem of the blind now. Here's the real joke. People think discomfort is the enemy. Struggle, pain. They want to run from those things like they're diseases. But they're not. They're messages, warnings, tests. And guess what? They work because they wake you up. They scrape the sleep out of your soul and drag you into the now, the raw, the real. Comfort numbs, discomfort sharpens, one kills slowly. The other cuts clean, but people don't want sharp. They want easy. They want predictable. They want to repeat the same cycle every day and pretend it's stability. But it's not. It's decay in disguise. See, when you live in comfort too long, you stop evolving. Your senses dull, your instincts rust. You stop asking what's out there and start asking what's on next. That's not life. That's sedation with a smile. They feed you comfort for a reason. A numb population is a controllable population. Keep them fed, entertained, pacified. Drown them in distractions. Give them 1,000 ways to avoid discomfort. And you'll never have to worry about rebellion. No one revolts with a mouthful of cake and a couch under their spine. But take that comfort away, then the truth crawls out. You ever notice how the most dangerous people are the polar? It's not because they're fearless. It's because they've been stripped of comfort. They've been tossed into the cold and forced to either adapt or die. And in that process, they become something terrifying awake. Not comfortable, not stable. Awake, you think strength comes from lifting weights or screaming into mirrors. Please. Real strength comes from choosing to be uncomfortable on purpose. From stepping out into the unknown while everyone else clings to the familiar. It's walking away from what soothes you and straight into what sharpens you. And doing it again. And again. And again. Until the pain isn't pain anymore, it's power, but comfort doesn't let go easy. It whispers, it seduces, it tells you you've earned it, that you deserve rest. And sure, sometimes you do. But there's a fine line between rest and retreat, between peace and paralysis. Most don't know the difference. They think they're recharging, when really they're rotting, slowly, silently, smiling all the while. And here's where it gets twisted. The more comfort you collect, the more fragile you become. The more you rely on everything being just right, the less you can handle when it's not. You build your life like a house of cards, one breeze away from collapse. Then the storm comes, and it always comes, and suddenly you're screaming, begging for answers you never trained to understand. You want to survive what's coming. Stop worshiping comfort. Stop treating it like a prize. Treat it like a drug. Use it wisely, sparingly. Don't let it run your life. Sit in the dark. Feel the cold. Walk into rooms that scare you. Ask questions that keep you up at night. Because that's where strength is built. Not in the glow of a screen, but in the silence of uncertainty. The system wants you soft. Wants you calm. Wants you tame. You want to be ready? Then be wild. Be sharp. Be restless. Because once you've learned to be comfortable in discomfort, there's nothing they can use to break you. Not fear, not loss, not even chaos. Because you've already faced it. You've already swallowed it. And now it lives in your grin. Distraction. That's the real weapon, you know. Not guns, not bombs, those are messy. No, they've found a better tool. Something cleaner. Something you even ask for. It's in your pocket, on your screen. In your ears, in your feed. Ding, buzz, scroll, repeat. While you're busy watching the flashing lights, something slips behind you, nice and quiet, and locks the door. They don't need to chain you up. All they need is your attention. steal that and they own you. Because where your attention goes, your power follows. Your time, your choices, your focus, it all pours into the illusion. Look over here. Care about this. Get angry about that. Meanwhile, the real game, the one that matters, is happening 2 steps to your left. And you're too hypnotized to notice. Ever seen a magician work? They wave one hand and everyone's eyes go there. But the trick's in the other hand. That's how they do it. Misdirection. Distraction. The oldest con in the book. And it's still working. Because people would rather be entertained than aware. They'd rather be busy than brave. Give them flashing colors and a playlist and they'll stop asking the questions that make systems tremble. You want to know what really keeps you from protecting yourself? It's not a lack of strength, not fear, not even ignorance. It's noise, endless noise, constant stimulation. Your brain is a battlefield, and it's been hijacked by clickbait and dopamine hits. They don't want you still because stillness leads to thinking. And thinking leads to questions. And questions, well, that's where the fun begins. There's a reason silence is scary to most. It's in the silence that the truth creeps in, that your gut speaks, that your instincts knock on the door. But most people, they drown that out before it even gets a word in. TV, podcasts, music, gossip, headlines fill every crack with noise. Keep the mind numb, keep the eyes dull. Keep the beast asleep, but you're starting to feel it, aren't you? That weird static under your skin when things are too quiet. That flicker of clarity when you're out of Wi-Fi range. That little voice that says something's off. That's not madness, that's what's real. That's the part of you that hasn't been bought. The part that remembers what matters, and they hate that part. They work day and night to keep it sedated. The truth is, distraction is protection for them. Not for you. They distract so you won't prepare, so you won't question, so you won't feel. Because a distracted soul doesn't see danger, doesn't notice the shift, doesn't hear the gears turning behind the curtain. And by the time they do, it's already too late. The wolves are in the house and the door was left wide open. They've made you comfortable with chaos, addicted to outrage, trained to care about things that don't affect your survival while ignoring the ones that do. They fill your head with celebrity drama while your rights get gutted behind the scenes. They sell you false fights so you never pick the right one. Divide and distract. Distract and divide. Over and over. Until you don't even remember what it felt like to think for yourself. But here's the secret they don't want you to figure out. Focus is power. Undivided attention. That's a weapon. Because when you take it back, when you decide what to look at, what to care about, what to feel, you become a threat. You start noticing patterns, start pulling threads. You begin to see how deep the hole goes. And once you see it, really see it, you don't go back. You'll start hearing things in people's words they didn't mean to say. You'll start spotting the lies hiding behind smiles. You'll see the fear in the eyes of those who pretend to be in control. And all because you chose to look, not scroll, not skim, not swipe. Look. That single act is rebellion now. That's how far they've taken it. So while they're busy trying to keep you dancing to a tune they composed, you'll be learning the rhythm of something older, something truer. You'll stop reacting and start reading the room. And when the lights finally go out, while the world panics, you'll already be moving. Because you weren't distracted. You were watching, listening, learning, preparing. And that, my friend, is what they fear most, the one who was paying attention when everyone else fell asleep. Fear, now that is a misunderstood little monster. People run from it like it's a disease. Hide it, mask it, medicate it, bury it deep beneath fake confidence and plastic smiles. But the joke is, fear's not your enemy. No, no, no. Fear's the only honest thing you've got left. It's not the problem, it's the warning light on a car that's about to explode. Ignore it and boom. You're roadkill with a grin. They taught you to be ashamed of fear. As if fear makes you weak. As if it's something only broken people feel. But let's get something straight. Fear doesn't mean you're broken. It means your senses work. It means something's wrong. And your gut knows it before your mind does. That pulse pounding in your ears, that tightness in your chest, that's the alarm system kicking in, saying, look alive, something's coming. And oh, how they hate that. Because if you actually listened to your sync, if you paid attention to what it was trying to show you, you'd start moving different. You'd start noticing things you weren't supposed to notice. You'd stop smiling at people who mean you harm. You'd stop nodding along while the walls close in. That's dangerous. Not to you. To them, fear isn't weakness. It's signal. Pure signal. Raw data from the part of you that hasn't been tamed. The animal part. The part that remembers what it was like to fight for survival. But what do? They tell you to ignore it, to chill out, to relax, to calm down. Everything's fine, they whisper, while the ground splits open beneath your feet. And if you ignore that whisper long enough, well, you fall and smile. And let me tell you something about those people who say they're not afraid of anything. They're either lying or they're already dead inside. The brave ones, the real ones, they are afraid constantly, but they've made peace with it. They don't run from it, they lean in. Because fear shows you the cracks, shows you where the pressure is building, shows you where the blade might fall. And if you're smart, you don't look away, you want to survive. You want to protect yourself. Then stop using fear as an excuse to freeze. Use it as fuel. When your fear flares up, that's your cue to act. It's the system rebooting, telling you something doesn't add up. Maybe it's a person who smiles too wide. Maybe it's a silence that's too heavy. Maybe it's a plan that seems a little too perfect. Whatever it is, trust the fear. It doesn't lie, but oh no, society doesn't want that. They want you comfortable. They want you soft. They want your instincts buried under yoga quotes and breathing apps. Just be positive, they say. As if good vibes are a shield against betrayal. They want your fear dulled, muted, caged. Because a caged mind doesn't react, doesn't resist, just nods and pays taxes and swipes right and never ever asks why the sky feels like it's falling. Here's the thing they don't tell you. Fear sharpens you, makes you listen harder, look closer, move smarter. Fear wakes you up. And once you're awake, they can't put you back to sleep. You'll notice how fast people change when you stop playing dumb. You'll hear the threat in their silence, see the malice behind their kindness. And once that switch flips, you're no longer food, you're a blade. You can smell real fear. Not the trembling kind, the aware kind, the kind that's quiet, alert, calculating. That's not panic, that's power. That's someone who knows what's coming, who's felt it before. Who's ready for the next move while everyone else is still laughing at the setup. That kind of fear. That's survival wrapped in instinct. Let them call you paranoid. Let them say you're overthinking it. That's what they always say before the lights go out. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're just listening to a voice they've spent your whole life trying to silence. The one that whispers, not safe, not right, not now. That voice is ancient, older than your name, older than the lie they sold you called comfort. You want to make it through what's coming. Don't kill your fear, hone it, feed it. Let it guide your eyes to the places they don't want you to look. Let it walk you into the dark corners everyone else avoids. Because it's there in the shadows where you'll find the truth they've been hiding in plain sight. And once you see it, really see it, you'll understand why they spend so much time trying to keep you from ever looking. Hope. That shiny little drug they sell you in bite-sized slogans and motivational posters. Hang in there. Believe in yourself. Everything happens for a reason. They hand it out like candy to a starving crowd, and everyone gobbles it up like it's the cure. But it's not the cure, it's the distraction. It's the smokescreen. Because real hope, oh, real hope is messy, it's ugly, it bleeds. It crawls out of the wreckage with broken teeth and a crooked grin. Not some angel in a sunbeam with perfect hair and a gentle voice. They want you to think hope is soft, gentle, harmless, but it's not. Real hope is dangerous. Real hope sets fires. It doesn't soothe you, it shakes you. It wakes you up in the middle of the night whispering, you were meant for more than this. Not in a sweet little bedtime story way. No, in a way that ruins your peace and tears your comfort blanket in half. But here's the twist, they don't sell that kind of hope. No, they package the fake stuff. The hollow version. The kind that keeps you waiting. Hoping someone else will fix it. Hoping things will get better on their own. Sit tight. Stay calm, think positive. It'll all work out eventually. That's not hope. That's sedation. That's a lullaby to keep you from noticing the ship's on fire. The kind of hope you need. It's not a dream. It's not a feeling. It's a decision. It's waking up and choosing to fight when every part of you wants to disappear. It's looking at the mess and saying, I'm not done yet, even when your hands are shaking and your voice is cracking and everyone around you is laughing. That kind of hope doesn't ask for permission. It breaks in through the back door with blood under its fingernails. It's not. It's for the desperate, the broken. The ones who've seen too much to believe in fairy tales but still refuse to lie down and die. That's what makes it terrifying. It means you haven't given up even though you should have. And they hate that. They hate the ones who keep standing up because you can't control someone who still believes they've got a shot. You see it sometimes in the eyes of people who've been through hell and somehow came back sharper. Not softer, not kinder, sharper. That's what real hope does. It doesn't make you gentle. It makes you relentless. It turns you into a problem. Because when someone carries that kind of hope, they don't beg. They don't whine. They build. They tear down the walls and kick the hinges off the door. The system doesn't know what to do with someone who still believes in themselves when the numbers say they shouldn't. When the experts say it's over. You ever feel it? That weird stillness right before everything snaps. People walk around with their coffee cups and fake smiles, scrolling, posting, pretending. But underneath, something's brewing. The kind of shift that doesn't knock, it erupts. A storm's coming, not the kind with clouds and rain, but something deeper. Something wholly violent, precise. But the funny part, you're not supposed to say a word. Oh no can't ruin the illusion. Can't disturb the delicate little performance everyone's so addicted to. So you sit there knowing, feeling it crawl up your spine while everyone else keeps dancing to the same broken tune. They laugh, they joke, they dismiss. But you know better. You've seen the cracks, heard the whispers. And now you're stuck with this secret. A divine storm is coming and silence is your assignment. You know that moment right before the punch lands. That tiny little breath between chaos and impact. Most people mistake it for calm. But it's not. It's tension. It's pressure. It's the weight of 1,000 quiet warnings that nobody took seriously. And you feel it now, don't you? That eerie pause, the heavy air, the world keeps spinning, people keep laughing, posting, shopping, talking about nothing like nothing's wrong. But you can feel it in your bones, something is shifting, something big. And it's not the kind of thing you prepare for with a checklist or a pep talk. It's the kind of thing that rips the roof off your life and dares you to stand in the rain. They call it peace. This stillness, they pat each other on the back and call it progress. But it's not peace. It's the calm a surgeon sees before the first cut. It's the quiet a soldier hears before the first bomb. Something's coming. And the reason it feels so quiet, because the noise is about to make sense. Every disappointment, every closed door, every betrayal you couldn't explain, it was all part of the setup. But you weren't supposed to understand it then. You were supposed to survive it. And now you're here, sitting in this stillness. And deep down you know this isn't peace. This is the universe inhaling. The silence is strategy. It's not an accident. It's not delay. It's design. You see, before any structure is rebuilt, it must first be cleared. That's what this quiet is. It's the demolition before the rebirth, but no one talks about that. No one likes the sound of that. They want pretty words and easy explanations, but there's nothing pretty about the truth. It's gritty, it's loud in your head even when the world is quiet. And if you've been feeling that pressure, that strange discomfort, congratulations. That means you're paying attention. But don't confuse this pressure with punishment. It's not here to crush you. It's here to shape you. That's what silence does. It corners you with your own thoughts. It forces you to face the lies you've been telling yourself. It peels back your layers until you're raw, exposed and real. And then and only then can you hear what the noise has been drowning out. That voice, that whisper. The one that's been trying to guide you, redirect you, warn you. But you've been too busy surviving to notice. And the ones who don't feel it, they're not evil, just asleep. They're still chasing illusions, still numbing themselves with comfort and convenience, still dancing in the smoke while the fire builds beneath their feet. But not you. You've stopped dancing. You've stopped pretending. Because you know that something's not right, that the curtain's about to drop, that the story's about to twist. And while they're all looking up, you're looking in, because the storm doesn't come to destroy, it comes to reveal. That's why the silence is so heavy, because it's filled with the weight of what's about to be exposed. Everything false is about to fall apart. Everything hidden is about to surface, and you're not scared, you're ready. That uneasiness you feel, that's your soul stretching, preparing for the shift. You've been sensing the disconnect, the hollow smiles, the fake strength. And now the silence has given you clarity. Not comfort, not certainty, but clarity. The kind that costs, the kind that breaks you before it builds you. And it doesn't come with applause. There's no audience for this kind of transformation. Just silence, pure, unforgiving, holy, because this is where the real change begins. Not on the stage, not in the spotlight, but in the stillness. The place where the divine does its best work, quietly, without witnesses, without permission. And if you're feeling it, if the silence is screaming louder than the noise ever did, that means you're not being punished, you're being positioned for something bigger than you imagined, something louder than the storm itself. But first, the silence has to do its work. It has to strip the illusions, expose the weakness, and prepare the warrior hiding underneath your wounds. Because the silence is never just silence. It's the warning before the awakening, the signal before the shake, the whisper before the war. It's a strange thing, isn't it? Being the only one who sees the lightning before it strikes. Like standing in a crowd with a ticking clock in your ear and no one else even flinches. They laugh, they scroll, they sleepwalk through their routines, blissfully unaware that the atmosphere just changed. You try to speak up just a little, maybe drop a hint, but they look at you like you're the unstable one. The truth is, you were chosen to notice, to sense what others can't. And that's not a gift. That's a burden. A heavy, lonely, inconvenient burden. You were awakened for a reason. And now you're cursed with clarity while everyone else keeps dancing in the fog. You weren't meant to be loud about it, that's the trick. You weren't meant to shout. Not everyone's ready for the truth, and truth in the wrong ears turns to poison. They don't want to hear that the comfort they cling to is a coffin. They don't want to know that the quiet they celebrate is the warning siren in disguise. But you feel it. That hum in the air, the way everything familiar feels just a little off. Like the ground is breathing, waiting, watching. And while others chase noise, you've been handed silence. Stillness, not to relax, but to recognize, to prepare, to sharpen your awareness like a blade, because something is coming as compass. It's funny, isn't it? How people crave signs and wonders and answers. But when they get the first hint, when the temperature changes and the patterns break, they panic. Or worse, they ignore it, pretend it's nothing. Call it coincidence, call it overthinking, call it anything, but what it really is, a signal, a pull. A shift in the atmosphere that only the awakened can feel. And here you are, ears ringing with a message you can't even share. Because if you told them the truth, they'd laugh. If you showed them the signs, they'd mock. If you tried to shake them awake, they'd label you crazy. So now you walk in silence, carrying a knowing that burns hotter every day. You watch people sleep through their own calling. You watch them pray for direction, then run from the map. You watch them beg for purpose, then cling to patterns that are killing them. But you stopped begging. You started listening, and not to people, not to the noise, but to the ache, to the pause between moments, to the way your spirit recoils from certain rooms, certain voices, certain distractions. That's not paranoia, that's protection. You're being shown what's real, what's necessary, what's about to be removed. You weren't supposed to blend in. You weren't supposed to move like them. You weren't built for denial. You were built for discernment, for vision, the kind that sees past what's obvious and hears what isn't said. But that kind of sight comes with a cost. You'll lose people. You'll lose comfort. You'll lose the luxury of ignorance. But what you gain can't be measured. It'll wise you walk differently, talk differently. You'll stop needing approval because you'll realize most people can't approve of what they don't understand. You weren't called to be understood. You were called to understand. And that understanding, it isolates you. It hardens you. It turns you from a bystander into a soldier. This is the season where silence speaks louder than noise, where solitude builds more strength than company, where your ability to not speak is more powerful than shouting from rooftops. Because the message isn't for everyone. Not yet. Some truths must ferment in silence. Some assignments must grow in shadows. You don't need applause. You don't need agreement. You need awareness. Because you've been placed ahead of the moment. You're already in the future that others are still denying. And when it finally hits, when the storm crashes down and everything false crumbles, then, and only then, will they look to the ones that won, and you'll be ready. Not because you shouted, but because you listened. Not because you warned them, but because you were warned. And while they danced in the fire, you were quietly building the ark in plain sight. It gets lonely, doesn't it? The kind of lonely that doesn't come from being alone in a room, it comes from being surrounded by people and still feeling like a ghost. You try to explain it, but the words don't land right. They look at you like you've grown two heads, or worse, they smile politely and go back to scrolling. That isolation, it's not punishment, it's preparation. But oh, they'll never tell you that. No one warns you that being chosen comes with silence, comes with distance, comes with nights where even your own shadow feels too loud. They just sell you the highlight reel, the inspiration, the spotlight, but never the silence before people think you're breaking down. But you're not. You're being stripped. Stripped of attachments, expectations, illusions. See, when you've been set apart, the first thing that gets taken from you is the noise. The friendly distractions, the comforting lies, the people who clapped the loudest when you were performing. Gone. And suddenly you're left with just yourself. And that's the point. That's the crucible. That's the furnace where fake burns away and only the real survives. It's not the world that abandoned you. It's the plan that isolated you. Because you can't carry this kind of purpose with everyone's hands in your pockets. You can't see clearly with 100 voices in your ears. So the silence hits. The stillness settles. And the room clears out, not because something's wrong, but because something right is starting to form. But it doesn't feel right. It feels like rejection. It feels like failure. Like the phone stopped ringing and suddenly nobody sees you. But what if that was the point? What if the silence isn't a void, it's a filter? The ones you thought you needed, removed. The spaces that used to feed your ego, closed. The things that gave you false identity, shattered. And all you're left with is the raw version of you. Not the mask, not the performance, just the age. Just the awareness that you've outgrown the place you were pretending to be comfortable in. But you don't say that out loud, because no one wants to hear that you're evolving. They want you to be digestible, familiar, predictable. And when you stop playing that role, they call it distance. They call it cold. But it's not cold, it's clarity. You start noticing things. how empty conversations feel, how draining certain rooms are, how you shrink yourself around people who can't carry what you carry. And one day it clicks, the isolation isn't exile, it's elevation. But not the kind of elevation they put on billboards. No confetti, no spotlight, just grit, just tears, just quiet transformation behind closed doors. And you begin to see it's not about being seen. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need to be. The cocoon is tight, dark, suffocating. But it's necessary. You can't become what you were designed to be while holding on to what you used to be. And that's why it feels like a funeral and a birth at the same time. Something is dying, yes, but something stronger is waking up. But it doesn't clap. It doesn't post about it. It doesn't explain itself to people who wouldn't understand. It just becomes. Slowly, painfully. Honestly, they'll say you changed. Of course you did. That was the goal. But they won't like it. Because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. Your silence threatens their noise. Your truth irritates their performance. So they'll distance themselves. Good. That's confirmation. That's the space being cleared for the ones who can handle your depth, your fire, your calling. But for now, it's just you. You and the silence, you and the work. You and the echoes of who you were clashing with who you're becoming. There's beauty in it, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Because pain is honest. Pain doesn't lie to you like people do. It tells you exactly where the healing needs to begin. And when the storm does come, you won't be caught off guard. Because while they were distracted, you were being rebuilt. While they were numbing, you were facing the fire. And in that silence, in that solitude, in that sacred isolation, you became the very thing they'll run to when the noise finally breaks. You ever notice how the loudest people are usually the ones hiding the most? Yeah. They've got the biggest smiles, the perfect answers, the endless optimism. And not a shred of real peace behind their eyes. They're walking posters for distraction. Because real growth, real alignment, real awakening. It doesn't need a microphone, it doesn't care about the stage, it's messy, quiet, painful. And it usually happens when no one's watching. Not even you, that's the thing. You don't get a calendar invite when you're being transformed. There's no siren, no flashing lights. Just this subtle, unshakable discomfort. You start waking up in places that used to lull you to sleep. Conversations that once thrilled you now bore you. People you once idolized start to look hollow. Not because they changed. Because you did. Something in you cracked. And from that fracture, truth started leaking in. Uninvited, unwanted, unstoppable. You try to fight it at first. You hold on to your old habits like they're lifeboats. You pretend not to notice the tension in your chest when you lie to yourself one more time just to make someone else comfortable. You still smile, you still nod, but it doesn't fit anymore. None of it fits. You're shedding skin you didn't even know you had. And you start to realize, oh, this is what alignment feels like. Not applause, not approval. But this strange, terrifying clarity that burns through everything that isn't real, but nobody talks about the part where it's ugly, where it's isolating. Where the old you screams for comfort while the new you whispers, we're not going back. It's not a glow-up, it's not an aesthetic, it's a war. Inside your own mind. Between the part of you that's addicted to performance and the part of you that's dying to be free. And guess what? Freedom isn't cute. It costs everything. Your pride, your popularity. Sometimes even your peace, because peace doesn't always feel peaceful in the middle of transformation. You stop explaining yourself. Not because you're arrogant, but because you realize most people aren't listening. They don't want to understand. They want you to stay small enough to fit their idea of you. But that version of you is gone. You buried it. Or maybe it burned. Either way, you're not picking up those pieces again. You're building something new. And it's quiet, it's sacred, it's not for them. It's for you. For the part of you that always knew you were meant for something more than survival. People will ask what's wrong with you. You'll want to tell them everything. You'll want to scream, I'm being reprogrammed from the inside out. But you won't. Because what's happening in you is not for performance. It's for purpose. And purpose doesn't need an audience, it needs discipline, it needs surrender. And most of all, it needs you to stop running, to finally sit still with the pain, to finally listen to the silence, to finally admit that you were never really okay in the first place, that your smile was a disguise, that your hustle was a distraction, that your strength was just survival with makeup on. But now it's raw, now it's real. Now you're face to face with everything you tried to bury. And instead of running, you're staying. You're sitting in the fire, letting it burn away what was never meant to last. You're grieving the lies, you're mourning the masks. And in that sacred unraveling, something wild and ancient and true starts to rise. Not the version of you that they built, the version of you that you forgot. The one that doesn't need validation to breathe. The one that doesn't compromise to feel loved. The one that doesn't perform to be seen. So yeah, let them wonder. Let them gossip. Let them assume. Because while they're spinning in circles trying to keep up with illusions, you could be anchoring into truth. And truth is heavy. But it's the only thing that holds when everything else falls apart. And when you come out of this, and you will, it won't be with glitter or applause. It'll be with fire in your bones and clarity in your eyes. You'll walk into rooms and shift the temperature without saying a word. Not because you tried to be powerful, but because you stopped pretending to be weak. You know what's funny? People want the truth until it makes them uncomfortable, until it digs too deep, until it asks them to look in the mirror a little too long. They say they want to grow, to evolve, to change, but only if it doesn't cost them anything familiar. Only if it doesn't disturb their comfort zone. But real transformation, it doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It kicks in the door, turns the lights on, and exposes everything you've been pretending not to see. And when that happens, when life rips away your distractions, when the noise dies down, when the mirrors crack, you're left with something terrifying. Yourself, not the filtered version, not the highlight reel, the raw, uncut, unedited version of you. The one who's been hiding behind fake smiles and half-truths and stories you kept repeating to survive. The one who's exhausted from carrying masks heavier than any burden life ever handed you. That version of you isn't polished, it's not marketable, but it's real. And that's what makes it dangerous, because when you finally meet yourself, everything else starts falling apart. Or maybe it's finally falling together, but at the time it feels like chaos. People you thought would be there forever start backing away. Habits that used to comfort you feel toxic. Goals you were chasing suddenly seem meaningless. And you stand there in the rubble, blinking, dazed, asking, what now? No one answers. Because this part isn't a group project. It's between you, the silence, and the truth and the truth. It doesn't whisper sweet nothings. It shouts. It rips. It burns. It tells you the job isn't who you are. The relationship isn't your worth. The approval isn't your purpose. The version of you that everyone clapped for. That was the survival mode. The puppet show. The mask parade. Now it's time for something different, something deeper. But it comes at a cost. And most people don't want to pay that price. Most people would rather stay admired than be authentic. They'd rather stay safe than be sovereign. They'd rather wear the costume than face the naked truth of who they really are underneath it. But not you. Not anymore. You've seen too much. Felt too much. Lost too much to keep playing pretend. So you start letting go, piece by piece, bit by bit. And it doesn't happen all at once. Some days you're strong. Other days you're crawling. But either way you're moving. And every step forward feels like a betrayal to the version of you that tried so hard to keep everyone happy. That version is dying, and it hurts. But, oh, it's necessary. Because the new version, the real version, doesn't beg, doesn't shrink, doesn't explain it. Just as you stop needing permission to breathe, you stop asking for directions to a place no one's ever been. You realize the road you're on was never meant to be crowded. It's narrow, it's brutal, it's honest. And that honesty costs you everything fake. Every lie you told yourself to keep from facing your own reflection. Every excuse you made to stay in a room that no longer fits. Every role you played to feel accepted. You lose all of it. And in that loss, there's freedom. People will call it a phase. They'll say you're distant, angry, different. They'll try to pull you back into the box they built for you. But it won't fit anymore. Not because you're better, but because you're real now. You don't speak to be heard. You don't move to impress. You don't show up for applause. You show up for truth. You show up for alignment. You show up because pretending started costing you too much: your peace, your mind, your soul. So now, you walk different. You talk different. You carry yourself like someone who knows what it's like to lose everything except your voice. And even that voice, yeah, it cracked. It trembled. It almost disappeared. But it didn't. And what came back? It's not the voice they were used to. It's sharper, quieter, but heavier. It speaks with conviction, not volume. And when it speaks, people listen. Because real doesn't need to yell. Real doesn't need to perform. Real just is.